welcome to another edition of DC TV when we are starting episode 1 of Stargirl. Now, I watched the entire episode and I'm obviously I'm definitely going to stick with it cuz I'm a DC guy and I watch a lot, like DC's my thing. Like I've always like DC over everything. So, that's not the problem. I will say that there are a lot of aspects of this show that are very stereotypical, but not when it comes to the superheroism. Like the superhero aspect of the show definitely has my attention. It's very interesting, and I'm into it. Like like I want to see how the story progresses. But it's like everything outside of the superheroism is just kind of cliche and very stereotypical. So it's like, so for me it's like a tale of two shows here, but I will say that the first episode did get, was very good, and it obviously makes me want to know more about it. So let's just get right into this and talk about episode 1 of Stargirl. So in the beginning of the episode, it starts off with the Injustice Society killing off the JSA. If you're a fan of Legends of Tomorrow, if you read DC comic books, if you're familiar with the lore in general, the Justice Society is a group of the old heads, the old like the original Justice League, so to speak, in the golden age of like superheroes, and they're taking on like Wildcat, the Hawkman, like you saw that old Justice Society photo. They're taking on what's known as the Injustice League. Like the Injustice Gang. It's like like this dude who can control minds, Icicle, Icicle, Solomon Grundy, and when I saw Icicle, I was just like, oh, because they're using Icicle on the Flash, because Icicle is Kate's dad, and they hinted in earlier seasons of the Flash that Kate had a brother, but he was on Earth 2. They talked about her having a brother, and I thought that was going to be like Icicle Jr., but that never happened. So we have Icicle Senior here on Stargirl, so maybe we'll get Icicle Jr. at some point anyway, because the episode does take place like back in the day, back in the Justice Society times. So the Justice Society gets ambushed by the Injustice League, and like they're dying, like they're being killed off one by one. Like Wildcat's dead. Like Wildcat can't catch a break. He died on Arrow too. Wildcat died. The Flash, Jay Garrick. Jay Garrick died. Dr. Manhattan. Like all the heroes died. Starman shows up. He's the last one to the party, and he's taking on the Justice Society. Now Pat, who's played by Luke Wilson. Pat is his name is Stripes. He's the sidekick of Starman, and he was on his way to help out with the battle, although he has no superpowers whatsoever. He's pretty much just like his driver, because he said earlier that he met Starman when he was 15. He was 20 years old, and his job was to drive him around. And then when later on, when Starman got the staff, he became a sidekick, and he was down with the whole Justice Society. But again, like he was more like the Alfred of the group. Like he didn't actually do anything. So he shows up. Starman's there. He's fighting off the Injustice Society as best as he can. It doesn't work. All of his friends are dead. They're in trouble. So Pat and Starman, like, they haul ass. They end up getting away, but Starman took a shot to the chest at one point. Like he got stabbed by a dagger or something, and he's dying. So we all saw in the trailer he gives Pat the staff, and then he's just like, one day, like, a pure soul will be able to use the staff. Make sure you pass it down. And Pat thought he was passing it to him, but he was like, nah, not you. Like somebody who's courageous and and righteous and this, that, and the third. So and so he took the staff, and he was just like, all right, because they were friends. He was like, all right, my friend. He was like, I'll keep the legacy going. So I mean, in a weird way, Pat's like the only surviving member of the Justice Society. So then it takes us to Courtney, a young Courtney. She's with her mom. It's like Christmas Eve, and her dad was supposed to come over for Christmas Eve, and her dad never showed up. And because her dad never showed up, that was the last time she saw her, because like her dad used to come visit her all the time. Like I guess her and the mom weren't married, they weren't really like together, but her dad was there. And then for some reason, this Christmas Eve was the last time. Well, she didn't see him, so that was basically like their whole thing. Like her dad never showed up, and she never saw her dad again. It's supposed to lead us to believe that Starman is her father, and because he was fighting in the Justice Society, and because he died, that's why Courtney never saw him again. And then it takes us, into the present now, where everybody's older. Courtney's older. She's in high school. The Justice Society was dead. The Injustice Society is like, I don't. It's weird because if the Injustice Society beat the Justice Society and like 15, 20 years just went by, or however long the time frame is, 10 years, I think it was 10 years, like 10 or 11 years just went by, why has the Injustice Society not taken over the world yet? Because it's not like they have anybody to stop them. But so it takes us to present day, and Pat, he is married to Courtney's mom. And I was just like, when I first thought about that, because again, we're under the impression that Starman is Courtney's dad. That's how they set the whole thing up. So, and if Pat was Starman's sidekick, and now Pat's married to Courtney's mom, I was like, that's messed up, dude. Like, how you gonna sit up there like marry, and how you gonna marry your best friend? Like, how you gonna marry your best friend's like girl like behind his back after he dies? I was just, but so I thought that was pretty funny. So come to find out, they all lived in California, and now they're moving. They're moving to Blue Valley because the mom was from Blue Valley and she took a job in Blue Valley, I guess working in politics, and Courtney's not happy about it because she's from California. She has all her California friends and everything, and she doesn't want. No, she's basically being like the bratty teenager who doesn't want to leave. She blames Pat for it though, because Pat's the one who was basically like, encouraging the move, and he was just like, he was all about the move, and then, Courtney kind of like blamed him. She was like, yeah, you're the reason why we're leaving. But her mom told her, she was like, it's not really all on Pat. She's like, I took a job in Blue Valley as well. So she was like, if anything, like, it's both of us. So they get to Blue Valley, and it's like straight up Pleasantville, like top of the morning type shit. Like, everybody says hello, good morning, and everybody's all, it looks like the town that they shot Back to the Future in. Like when, like, and what was that called? It was that was Hill Valley. Like Back to the Future they were in Hill Valley. Like this place looks like Hill Valley. I said it's very just like Pleasantville, and everything. So the mom takes her job, the mom takes her job at the courts or what, the mayor's office or whatever. Pat bought an auto shop, and he's going to fix it up, and he's going to become the auto repair guy. Pat has a son, because Pat had his own son, Courtney's mom had her, so now they're, like stepbrother and sister. Both of them go to high school together. And here's where the show, it was like the first day of school because they're all trying to get used to like the new town. And here's where the show kind of like made me tweak a little bit, because Courtney's in high school, and her situation in high school, it was the most like stereotypical, like the most basic story, like one-on-one. It was just like, oh, there's the oh my god, we're like the cheerleader girls, like they had those. The jock, I guess he's like the star football or basketball player. He's a bully, like they're in the cafeteria. She's trying to sit down, and then somebody's like, you can't sit here. This is where the cool kids sit. And I'm just like, oh my god. I was like, we've seen this in like everything, like literally. And then she goes to like the reject table, and now there's like a group of rejects. There's like, the nerdy intelligent black girl with the glasses. There's the, like the emo chick, who's, I guess, like they were calling her a slut at some point. So I guess she did, she did something slutty. Then there's like the dude. He's just like, yo, I'm too cool to be with the jocks, but I ain't no reject either type person, with the leather jacket. I'm just like, and like this is the part. And like at that point, they were trying to get her to, because apparently Courtney's good at gymnastics, because she thought that the school had a gymnastics program, and she was trying to get they kept overly bringing up the gymnastics. So I'm like, okay, I get it. She knows gymnastics, so when she becomes Stargirl, it'll make sense why she's able to do the things that she can do. So, she was trying to join the gymnastics, but they don't have gymnastics anymore. And then like the other girl tried to get her, like the snobby girl tried to get her to join, the cheerleading squad. And, then the snob girl is dating like the jock who's also the bully. And I was just like, can this get any more stereotypical than what it is now? And these are the moments that are probably going to make me like stab myself. But so let's progress further. So now, while Courtney's sitting at the reject table, of course, while she's at the region table, of course, the big bad bully shows up and he's messing with the girl, the emo chick who's a slut. And then and then Courtney's like, hey, don't bother her. And then he's like, well, what are you gonna do about it? And then she pushed him, because he took her phone. He was like, wow, you got pictures on your phone. And then she took him and she pushed him. He fell back and hit the cafeteria lady. And the principal showed up and she was like, Courtney, you're in trouble. And of course, the jock didn't get in trouble because not only is he the jock, his dad is like the mayor of the town, so they're not going to blame him for anything. He gets off scot-free, which is why he's an asshole and a bully. She goes to detention. Nobody cared that she was in detention. They didn't even call her parents. I thought that was weird. And then, she ends up going home. So they're having dinner, like the whole family is like, everybody's like, how was your day? And then the brother, the stepbrother, he was just like, I met a lot of friends, and all of his friends are smart. The mom, she had a decent day at work, first day at work. Pat, he ended up, like I said, when he was opening up his car garage things, like some stereotypical dude who owned the gym next door, he was like, yeah, man, let's pump up and let's rock, man. And I was like, that's very stereotypical. But it was funny because the guy was telling he was telling Pat, he was just like, oh, come to the gym and get ripped, man. And I'm like, bro, like, you're not even ripped. Like, the guy who was telling him to get ripped was skinny as hell. And I was like, I thought that was weird. So then there's the moment where Pat's just telling Courtney, he's like, oh, maybe we can go out, to the movies, or like we can get something to eat, we can explore the town. And then she's like, you're not my dad, stop trying to be. And I'm just like, like the stereotypes. I was just like, can we not have done the typical "you're not my dad" moment? So she gets mad. She goes downstairs to the basement. She's all like pouty, and she kicks like a crate over, and then she sees Pat's, like, because Pat had a crate full of all his old Justice Society stuff. He had like pictures of the Justice Society. He had files on the Injustice League, because although the Justice Society is dead, Pat is still trying to catch them, and he's still trying to take them down. He's coming up with a plan to avenge the Justice Society, with him taking down the Injustice Society on his own. So he has files on all the bad guys, and he tracked the Injustice Society to Blue Valley. Like, he's been looking for them for the last 10 years, and he finally found them. So it actually was Pat who kind of like convinced the family to move to Blue Valley. They said that Pat met Courtney's mom because he went to Blue Valley to do some research. I guess he was like researching the Injustice Guild, and he bumped into Courtney's mom down there because she was there selling a house, because she said she was from Blue Valley, her parents used to live in Blue Valley, and I guess she was selling her parents' old home. So that's how the two of them met, and that's how they got married, and then both of them ended up going back to Blue Valley. But Pat's in Blue Valley investigating the Injustice League so he can get his revenge. So while Courtney's downstairs, the staff starts glowing and it comes out of the box. The staff busts out of the box. She looks at it and she's like, oh my God, what's this? It's a glowing staff. And then, she was touching it and she was playing with it. And then she touched the staff, and the staff basically yanked her out of the house. And then she was like flying all over the place. And I kind of felt like there's a part of me that I'm glad that we didn't spend 50 years on her discovering like the staff thing. But at the same time, she accepted that way too quickly. She accepted the staff a little way. I'm like, they could have dragged that out a little bit more, but she accepted it. She accepted the staff, and then she threw it in the air, and then she was doing gymnastics on the staff and everything. It's like, aha, and then like the staff brought her to like a parking lot, because they have drive-in movies. Because remember, we're in Pleasantville. They had drive-in movies. There was a bunch of kids at the drive-thru, and of course the bullies were there bullying people at the drive-thru. And so then she put like she had like a scarf in her back pocket. She put the scarf on, and then she went out there. She beat up the bullies with the staff, because that was because those were the same bullies that were messing with her in school. She beat up the bullies and accidentally blew up the head bully's car. And then apparently the staff can also speak, because she was talking to the staff. When the staff glows and makes noise, I guess she can understand the staff too. So my whole thing is, if you can hear the staff, if you can understand the staff, if the staff works for you, I'm assuming it's like it's DNA based, and it's reacting to you because Starman was your daddy. So after beating up the bullies and blowing up the car, she goes home, and when she goes home, Pat's downstairs in the basement. He's just like, what are you doing with the staff? And then, she was just like, the staff came to me, and he was like, you're not supposed to touch it, and then she was just like, but what about you, Mr. Liar? She's like, the Injustice Society, the Justice Society, and you've been lying to my mom, and like, is Pat really your name? And then, and then when she saw a picture of Starman in the Justice Society, because she has a picture of her dad that she wears around her neck. So she had the picture. She held up the picture of her dad, and then she held up the picture of Starman, and then she was just like, "Oh, my dad was Starman," and then he was just like, "Your dad's not Starman." And I thought that was odd because I was just because again I'm under the impression that her dad is Starman, and I'm like, if her dad is Starman, why would Pat not know that? You know, why would Pat like But then when I thought about it, because he was really like because at first I thought maybe Pat was just like, no, that's not your dad. I thought he was just keeping up appearances, trying to keep the lie alive. But then when we get more into it, it's like, you're really not his, like, he's really not your dad. Like, like Pat was dead, like, because they said that they even had two different names, but she was convinced that Starman was her father, which, but Pat was just like, nah. And then, to be honest, like, maybe Starman's not his dad, not her dad, because first of all, if Pat was Starman's chauffeur from when Starman was 15, and he drove him around everywhere, and he had his back, and he was his sidekick throughout the entire superheroism, and the two of them were tight, like, superhero and sidekick, why would Pat not know that Starman fathered a child? Because Courtney even approached her mom about her dad, and then she was like, was my dad a superhero? And then her mom was like, no, your dad only showed up to see you once a year for the first 4 years of your life, and then one day he just stopped coming around. Pat would know that. Like, Pat would be aware of that. And even then, when Starman was dying, he would have said to Pat when he was dying in the forest, he would have said, take the staff and make sure you give it to the next person who's righteous enough to save the world. But at the same time, he also would have been like, take care of my family and look after my daughter, watch after my daughter for me. He never said those things to him. So because he never said that, and because there's no reason why Pat would not know that this man that he's with for X amount of years had a family, I'm in the camp of Starman's actually not her dad. And the reason why the staff works for her is because Starman said to Pat, find the next person who's pure and righteous and, all this other stuff. So it's not so much that the staff responded to her because that's her dad. The staff responded to her because the staff looked into her soul and sees that she has what it takes to be the next star person. So I feel like that's what it is. But Courtney's going to push the whole dad thing throughout the entire season. I see that coming now. And there's probably going to be a moment where she finds out the truth that Starman's actually not her dad. So then after that, her and Luke have the talk. He tells her the whole situation about how he got to the Justice Society, blah, blah, blah. They put the staff back in the box. Courtney goes upstairs, she's trying to sleep. And then, after that happened, we cut to the bully, like the big bully. He was talking to his dad, and his dad was just like, what attacked you? And then he was just like, oh, it was some chick with a glowing stick. And then he was just like, all right, go to your room. And then he got on the phone, and then he spoke to his people, and he was just like, Starman is back. So I'm just like, all right, the injustice, because Pat tracked the Injustice Society to that town. The Injustice Society runs that entire town. Like, they're the politicians, they're the police officers, like, the Injustice Society runs that town. And there's something specific about that town, which is why the entire Injustice Society decided to go to that specific town. Because, like I said, if you just killed the entire JSA, why would you not take over the world? So they're doing something specific in that town. Like, the evil guy who can read everyone's mind, he's like the mayor. And I'm calling this now. There's going to be a moment because the mom works with that guy, like the guy who can control minds. The mom works with him. There's going to be a moment where the guy with the magic power, with the mind powers, he's probably gonna die in the season finale, and the mom is gonna take up the mantle, and she's gonna run for mayor because this guy's dead. And that guy's son, who's the bully, he's gonna find out that he has mental powers, and then he's gonna take over. Like, all the kids of the Injustice Society are going to end up taking over, because if all these people have superpowers and they fathered all these children over the course of the last 10 some odd years, their brats are going to have superpowers too. So the head bully jock guy, he will have superpowers. He will have his dad's superpowers at some point after his dad dies. Like I said, and then Courtney's mom's going to become the mayor of the town. So there's an early prediction for you. So then Courtney's, she's in her bed sleep. The staff busted itself out of the box, and it went into her room. She grabbed the staff. The staff like took her out of the house. They were doing some practicing or whatever, and then the staff took her while she was on the staff flying. And like I said, she picked up on how that staff worked way too quickly. But while she was flying through the air, she got knocked out of the sky, and she ended up in a tire yard. So she's in the tire yard, and then she's being like pulled in somehow. So this dude with these mental powers, he has the ability to not only speak to you telepathically, he can control your body with his mental powers as well. So he was pulling Courtney towards him. He was like yanking Courtney towards him, and then he was asking her. He was like, "How did you get the staff? What's your deal? Are you a superhero?" And then he can read minds too, because he was just like, "I'm looking into your mind. I can see your thoughts." He was like, "You don't have anybody. You don't have any friends. You're shutting yourself off from your family. You're actually not a superhero. I have no idea where you." It's like you got the staff on accident. And then he's like, "Why are you thinking about your dad right now?" And then he was confused by that, because you think if he's in her mind, he would know if Starman's her dad. And even he was confused. He was like, "Why are you thinking about your dad right now? That's weird." And then the staff blew him up, and then he went flying back, and then she dipped. But so she's going to be stuck on this whole thing about Starman being her dad. And then she's going to find out that's not her dad. So, so after that, then the staff blew up the mental guy. He fell over. Courtney went flying out of the tire yard. She crashed on the floor. And then while she's on the floor, this big old mechanical machine walks up, and then it's Pat inside the mechanical machine. And then Pat was just like, "Woman, did not tell you not to touch the staff." Because if you read the comics, if you watched Justice League Unlimited, because that was the first time I've ever seen that character, Pat's character, because Stargirl and Pat's character, they were both on Justice League Unlimited. There was the episode where Supergirl had lost her powers, and then her and Stargirl were beefing, and then that's when we saw Pat for the first time. And it was the same thing. Pat was Courtney's stepdad, and he had built because Courtney was Stargirl, and he wanted to protect Stargirl. He wanted to be there for her and protect her. He built a mechanical suit which allowed him to take on the bad guys, so he can be there and have his daughters back. So they filed the same thing. That's what Pat's doing in this. The show ended with him being in the mechanized suit, him looking down at Courtney, and then that's how the show ended. And and I'm interested in that. Like I said, I want to see where that goes. I'm interested in that. I want to see the dynamic. I want to see the dynamic, the superhero dynamic. I want to find out if Starman really is her dad. I want to see what happens with the Injustice Society. What happens with all their kids, because all of them got evil children apparently. I do want to see where this goes. But then when we get into the teeny soap opera, Gilmore Girl, once we get into all that stuff, that's when I'm just like, but it could get better. That whole thing could get better. It's just, stereotypes. They went the safe route with the stereotypes, and I can't be mad at that. But yeah, so that was it. So first episode in the books. Stargirl officially Stargirl comes out on Mondays on the DC Universe app, and then that episode airs on the CW on Tuesdays. Because I subscribe to the DC Universe app, I'll try to get the Stargirl stuff out a little bit sooner rather than later. That's it, because by that time, because at this point, it's just Stargirl and Legends of Tomorrow that I'm working on now, because everything else is pretty much over. So thank you for tuning in. Leave a comment, like it or subscribe. Let me know what you thought of the first episode of Stargirl. Let me know what you thought of the characters. Let me know what you think will happen and how the season will turn out. Thank you for tuning in as always. And until next time, for Stargirl, I'm out this.